Hi everyone, thank you for tuning in to the first Reef Q&A sessions on the Leonardo's Reef YouTube channel. First, let me explain very shortly why I started this series. In the recent years, I did quite a lot of podcasts and I really enjoyed doing them, going back and forth with several other reef hobbyists, go really in depth about certain topics. And I thought it was a good idea to do the same with my viewers, my customers, because I do get a lot of questions through messaging on Instagram or WhatsApp or Facebook about how we keep our reefs, how we keep acropora, etc. And although I can address some of it in my videos about the show tank or general updates about our farm, I think it's a good idea to directly address certain kind of questions in these Q&A videos. Also, for future reference, I can easily show my customers certain answers to questions using these videos. What I did, because I did get quite some questions from you the last couple of weeks, thank you for that. I divided them into topics. Some users actually handed in a couple of questions, so they might be split up into different categories, so they might come back a few times. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below and I will address them in one of the coming videos. All right, let's start with the first topic, which is system design and overall farm or reef tank infrastructure. And the first question is from John de Buizer, 1841. And his question is, how is the sump and filtration system for the farm designed? Is it modular and why did you choose this approach? Good question. I think in the previous videos of the farm on this channel, you saw that I use HDPE plastic sumps, which come in roughly 80 by 40 centimeter size. And in most systems, I use 3, 4, or 5 of those big boxes connected to each other. And the reason I chose these type of sumps instead of a regular glass sump is that I can easily connect more of them together or take them off if needed. And they're easily drillable because it's plastic, so I can always add another unit on or easily drill holes for extra plumbing. So yeah, they're very versatile, first of all. Second of all, they are unbreakable or practically unbreakable. I think with a sump, it's very practical if it's not made out of glass, because I do move quite a lot around in the sump, equipment in and out. I use a lot of cryptic refugiums. I can explain more about that in another video. So I do use a lot of live rock in the sumps, and using rock on glass can be tricky as well. So having the sumps made out of an unbreakable material is just extra peace of mind. The next question, same topic, system design, is from Vadio Rakowski 1814. Sorry if I pronounce it incorrectly. Why don't we run a refugium in our systems? What are the pros and cons of refugiums in high energy acropora systems? Well, I never used refugia, which makes me a very bad person to ask this to. I can not really explain to you the pros and cons because I don't want to provide you that answer and never used it myself. I can explain to you why we never used it, and the most important reason is that we never needed one. So we have been able so far to always keep the nutrients in check using oversized skimmers, a lot of flow, bare bottom tanks, and recently also fleece filters. And those are more than enough in our case to keep nutrients in check, both dissolved but also particulate organic matter. So we don't really need them. I don't see any extra benefit for us to implement them now because they require some addition of certain trace elements, which I rather not add extra than just for the corals. Plus, refugiums tend to accumulate a lot of detritus, and as you may know, detritus is my #1 enemy, and I rather get rid of detritus as quickly as possible. So that's why we never use Refugia. It also saves some energy, some lighting, you name it. So, but most important reason is we never needed to use them because we kept the nutrients in check in different ways. Then we go to the next topic, which is lighting and energy input. From Logan van der Beek. And his question was about our custom LED bars, specifically for the coral farm. Yeah, we built it, or we designed some customized LED bars for our farm, which are dual chip LED bars, which we designed. We customized the spectrum, and they were built in China, like basically almost every light nowadays. More about the customization of the spectra. As you may know, we have a spectrometer to measure our different spectra in different tanks. Our main lighting consists of metal halide and T5, and in almost every system we use LED to complement the spectrum of either metal halide or T5. So what we did was measure the spectra of the T5 and the halides and looked where the weak spots basically in that spectra were, and try to add those missing wavelengths in the spectrum with those LED bars. So the LED bars were highly customized to the certain main sources of light, which after measuring and after the LED bars were added, resulted in a more complete full spectrum without any gaps in the spectral plot, which I'm not sure if it makes any difference, but I can assume that it will help coral growth if the spectrum is complete and not missing any specific wavelengths, just like natural sunlight. Then we go to filtration, nutrients, and water management. And then we have two questions from RSK91G. Thank you for sending in your questions. First questions is, do we use UV and or ozone, and why? What problem does it solve? Yeah, in basically every system we use both UV and ozone, but I have to say we use it in small amounts. Probably about a quarter of the recommended capacity of ozone and UV. Why do we implement it? Well, the most important reason is to increase the water clarity. You can have a lot of light, a lot of PAR shining down in your tank on the corals, but turbidity, so water being not very clear, can have a major effect on light penetration. So you can have a lot of wattage above your systems. If your water is not clear and colorless, it can dramatically impact the light intensity on the corals. And that's of course something we try to avoid, because the more clear your water is, the more energy you can save. Basically, it's as simple as that. And ozone and UV can both really have an impact on water clarity, especially making the water more colorless. For the same reason, we also apply some GAC, some activated carbon, also to improve the water clarity. Same for filter rolls, basically. They take out the particulate matter in the water column, also increasing water clarity. Another benefit could be that you reduce the bacterial load in the water, which in some cases bacteria in the water can be very beneficial. It's a direct food source for corals, and it also helps spread beneficial bacteria across different colonies, across different tanks connected to each other. But in some cases it can also be pathogenic bacteria that spread across the tank, and in that case you want to take them out as soon as possible. So I think the best middle ground is to apply a little bit of ozone, a little bit of UV, to mitigate that potentially harmful bacteria, but also not totally sterilize your water column and prevent any good bacteria to spread around. Then another question from RSK91G, and that's an interesting one. It's about mechanical filtration versus feeding. And his question is heavy feeding the right way to compensate for strong filtration, or is reducing mechanical filtration the better approach? My approach always have been heavy in, heavy out, which starts with very heavy export, aggressive export of nutrients and organic matter, which means heavy skimming, heavy mechanical filtration, heavy flow, no sand bed, which creates a baseline of being able to strip out all organic matter, all nutrients, if you have to. Of course, there is too aggressive export, but I still believe in heavy export, but it also means you can do heavy import. In our case, the only import of nutrition is through fish. And what I mean by that is fish food. We don't use any coral foods, any amino acids, any powdered liquid foods at all. We just try to keep our fish well fed. We try to feed them with a very diverse palette of foods, which mostly contains of frozen foods, mysis, brine shrimp, lobster eggs, fish eggs, red plankton, a whole variety of different frozen foods, which creates a very diverse nutritional spectrum. And I think those fish indirectly also feed the corals through excretion of urea and ammonia, of course, but also with the fish poop, which is a more particulate food source for the corals. And I think it's important to find the right balance between importing a lot of food, so feeding a lot, but also being able to export it as soon as possible. So detritus, but also dissolved organics like phosphates, nitrates, cannot really accumulate in a tank. Our tanks typically run very low nitrates, below 2 ppm. Phosphates tend to be a little bit higher, around 0.05 to 0.1 ppm, and we try to keep them in that range. Then daily operation and maintenance, next topic, also from RSK91G, thank you. How do we keep the farm and show tanks so clean? Algae control and cleaning schedules for racks, pumps and systems. Well, most important, it's just a lot of work, a lot of cleaning is involved, and I do have to give most of the props to my staff, which keep the tanks spotless. We try to do most of that cleaning maintenance on Mondays, so 1 day a week, and we clean the pumps on a regular basis, because I think good flow is crucial in most aquaporous systems, and keeping the pumps clean is is a huge factor in that. Also keeping all the glass clean, because I think visual inspection is very important as well, and I want to be able to look at the corals also from the side constantly, see if flow is optimal, see if there's not any detritus or anything accumulating inside the colony or on the colony, see if everything's happy, etc. So I need the glass to be clean for visual inspection. And we do water changes bi-weekly, so twice a month. And during those water changes, we try to suck out any detritus that is accumulating in a lower flow area, mostly somewhere in the corner of a system. We try to suck that out as well to prevent any breakdown of those detritus into dissolved nutrients. And that's basically all we do. And I do have to say, probably most work is done by our fish and our other cleanup crew, like snails. We have a lot of snails in all the tanks. I really believe in having enough snails in the system, because they can basically reach every corner of the tank, work 24/7, and in many cases do probably 75% of all the work, and the rest is done by us. And of course the fish, all the fish that we keep have a purpose, and most fish are actually grazers. So they also do a very important part in keeping all the rock work and all the frag racks and etc. clean. So that's how we do it. Then next topic is chemistry and biological stability. RSK91G, another two questions from him or her. Are we still running Kalkwasser in combination with tropic marine balling, and why? Yeah, on the downstairs system we still run balling with additional Kalkwasser, and the most important reason is that Kalkwasser is very easy to use. It's really fail-safe, because alkalinity and calcium are both added proportionally, and you cannot really mess anything up with it if your setup and dosing pumps are set up correctly, of course. But most importantly, it's really cheap. We buy 25 kilograms, big buckets of lime, calcium hydroxide, and it's really not expensive. So it's by far the most cheap way to add alkalinity and calcium to your tank. So yeah, that's a very important factor as well. In the past, I noticed upstairs where we didn't run any Kalkwasser, only tropic marine balling ABC, that we tended to have less detritus or accumulation of precipitates in the tank. I'm not sure if that's just a difference in system design, or that it has something to do with the addition of Kalkwasser. There are some people that say that's a correlation between detritus buildup and the use of Kalkwasser because of that precipitation. So on the new systems upstairs that we built, we're not going to use any Kalkwasser and really see if there's any difference in accumulation of that. So we will use both in the future. A lot of people also use Kalkwasser to increase the pH, especially at night. But since our farm has extremely good ventilation, we never have issues with pH. pH is always high, typically 8.5 peak and 8.2 during the night. So we definitely don't need it to keep up pH. Do we still dose live bacteria or phyto, or is the system biologically self-sustaining now? Yeah, like I said, we don't use any additional foods and also not any additional bacteria or other products to increase biodiversity or anything. I totally rely on good fresh live rock to start a new tank. I think that's the most important and probably the best source of diversity you can add to your tank. What we do on a yearly basis is add a few kilos of live rock, new live rock, to every existing system. Of course, that rock has been thoroughly quarantined and inspected before we add it. And I think that helps us to keep up with the diversity in bacteria, etc. But no, we never have to add any bacteria product or anything else. Then the questions about coral growth and troubleshooting coral growth from Douglas Achaiba 7885. Thank you for your question. Why do some Acropora frags stall for months with good color and polyp extension while others grow and branch out quickly? Well, this is a question we get more. People ask us, why does my Acropora not grow while other Acropora in my tank are really happy and growing? In some cases, especially with very small frags, which we not sell for this reason specifically, is that small frags tend to really take a long time to wake up and start growing. Typically, any acro frag or any Acropora tries to grow a base first before really growing out vertically or growing out with axial tips. So what you tend to see with a new acquired coral or frag, that the first months it needs time to adjust because probably lighting, flow, water chemistry is all different. So corals do need time to adjust. Some species or corals longer than other species. And if they start to grow, they first tend to make a base. And after that, if there's enough base formed and a coral has a good foundation to grow, they will pop up new branches and start growing. My advice is not to move around your coral too often if it doesn't do anything, because then it has to, get used to the new conditions and new place again. So try to keep it in the same spot for at least a couple of months. And if it's still not doing anything, you can try to move it a little bit higher, more intensity of light, more flow, for instance, and see if it changes. But don't try to move around the coral too much. In many cases, it's just a matter of more patience. Then we go on to the topic of pests and long-term risks. And I have two questions about this from Marine Squadrian 5982. Thank you. And the first question is, do vermetid worms, vermetid snails, negatively affect Acropora, and are there proven control methods? Vermetid snails do not affect Acropora in a way that they really harm them, but the slime coming out of the vermetid snails can actually irritate Acropora for sure. It's not going to be deadly, but still, you want to get rid of them. If the vermetid snail is inside the coral colony, the best way is to just cut it out with a bow cutter or some clipping tools, and really try to take out the whole vermetid snail. They can be pretty deep inside the coral colony, so you have to sometimes sacrifice a little bit of the coral to get rid of them, but that's the best way. And I think the only real way to get rid of them. If they're on the rockwork, you can try to add bumblebee snails, but try to add enough of them. I would say for a typical reef tank, try to add at least 10 to 15. And they will definitely do a good job with getting rid of all the vermetids on your rockwork. But as soon as they are in the coral colony, those bumblebee snails cannot reach them anymore. So in that case, you have to really cut it out yourself. About bumblebee snails, there are in all of our tanks, just preventative to get rid of anything that might pop up. I never had any negative experiences with them. For instance, them attacking snails, etc., what you sometimes read. I never noticed anything of that like that. So yeah, I'm a big advocate of using at least 10 to 15 bumblebee snails per system. Of course, when your system's bigger, you have to add more. Second question. Can Asterina starfish harm Acropora corals? There are a lot of different starfish, Asterina starfish and related species. Most of them are detrivores, so they eat detritus or algae or any, more of the organic waste. But some of them can be predatory to especially zoanthids or leather corals, soft corals. I never seen any starfish or never heard about any starfish or Asterina being parasitic to stony corals like Acropora or Mantipora or anything related. But, probably it exists in nature because you do have other starfish that attack acros. I never encountered them. I would suggest to get rid of Asterinas in quarantine for sure. They can become a little bit of an eyesore. I think most Asterinas are actually very good cleaners. They can keep your tank really clean. I know Jake Adams, who's unfortunately no longer with us, was a big advocate of keeping Asterinas in a reef tank because they're probably the best cleanup crew and they're totally free. But I can imagine they're an eyesore and you try to get rid of them. They're easy to spot in the tank, so you can always take them out and keep the population under control. If you have a quarantine tank, just try to manually remove them, and they do come off with dipping. Not always, so be very careful if there's some Asterina clinging on. But yeah, that's probably the best way to get rid of them, just a mechanical removal. Yeah, I think we are, that were all the questions for today. If you have any questions for me, please leave them in the comments below and I will address them as soon as I have time to record another Q&A session video. Also, let me know if you have any other input about the way I discuss or cover these questions. Maybe you have other things you want to leave there. Just let me know. I'm open for any question or other suggestions. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you soon with another farm update or lagoon update.